Hello everybody. In this video I'll talk about writing summer project report or any project report. Basically, project is a sequence of tasks and activities that must be completed to attain some pre-specified outcome with pre-specified time and budget. Projects have features like cost, schedule, timeline, scope, risk. For every project, it is very essential to understand its scope. How much things have to be considered by that project. It must be understood within what schedule that project has to be completed, and when what things to be done in the project period. Different types of tasks and activities are performed in the project, and these tasks can be done in sequential manner or in parallel. That means some tasks can be done concurrently in parallel, but there may be some tasks which starts only after completion of specific tasks. Then there is another most important thing we have to understand about the project is whether there is any risks or not. If there exists any kind of risks within the project, that must be resolved at the beginning, or how to address or how to solve that risk steps must be clearly defined at the very beginning. Now let's talk about writing project report. One who does the project or enrolls in the project has to write a report specifying tasks and activities done during the project report. How the project was conducted, that question have to be answered in the project report. How the risks associated with the project addressed. What are the tools and techniques used? How the human resources used to address those risks associated with the projects, that has to be specified. What issues or problems were faced during the project period, that is interesting one. Initially, in sometimes it may not be known issues problems that may be faced in the project, but with the time as people go on involved with the project, they will know, okay, these are the problems, these are the issues. They will consult with different people, they use their own knowledge skills to rectify those issues and problems. So it is necessary to write about those issues and the way those issues been solved in the project report. Individual's knowledge skill was sufficient to do project or not. Several peoples will be involved in the project. Sometimes individual one single person can pursue project. It should be known whether that people's knowledge skill was sufficient to do that project or not. It should be mentioned in the report. If skill knowledge available within the people, available within the current human resource were not sufficient, then how the project was conducted, how help from other people's been considered to pursue that project, it should be mentioned. What were the different phases or steps taken to complete the project. Project consists of different tasks and activities. Different tasks and activities can be done in parallel or in sequence. So how those tasks and steps performed, that should be clearly indicated, mentioned within the project report. While writing project report, one has to write following chapters. It is not always necessary that these are the major chapters. It depends upon the people how they want to organize their tasks and activities within the project report. But basically these are the three things we will be concentrating on. The first one is introduction. In the introduction section, it should be mentioned what the project is about. What is the schedule of the project? Schedule means what are the tasks and activities that have to be performed and when those tasks and activities has to be performed. With the date, with the timeline, we have to indicate when those tasks and activities has to be performed. Similarly, what are the milestones, deliverables that will be generated after the completion of each and every task should be mentioned. After the completion of doing something, we will get something as okay, some solid thing we will be able to see, or something that been solved. So it should be written in the project report what is that milestone. So it would be better to write, okay, these are the expected milestones after the completion of these tasks in the project schedule. Similarly, when the project is started, when the project will end, the date should be mentioned. What are the tools and techniques that are used during the project. Also, that should be written. Then in the next chapter, it is necessary to specify what are the tasks and activities performed during the project period. In the third one, it is the conclusion. How was the project? How that project person felt about that project, whether it was interesting, tough, difficult, how he or she executed different tasks and activities of the project, how was his project experience. That should go in the conclusion section. Now let's talk in detail. In the introduction, I have already told you what is that project about. It should be mentioned. What is the schedule of the project? It will be better to create the Gantt chart mentioning date and tasks and activities and expected outcome, the milestones within the Gantt chart. Then tools and techniques that will be used to do the project. Risks associated with the project. That is the most important thing. That should be understood at the very beginning of each project. What are the risks? And if those risks are not addressed, what will happen? Clear understanding about the risks and associated consequences of that risk should be known at the very beginning. So it will be better to mention the risks in the introduction. Then project duration with the start and end time, and then phases or steps followed to complete the project. Okay, these are the basic things it goes within the introduction chapter. Second was tasks and activities performed. During project time, several tasks and activities will be performed. In this chapter, list the tasks and activities and elaborate those tasks and activities in detail. For example, in case of the software development, developers will go through following steps or phases: requirement collection, system design, system development, programming, testing, implementation, maintenance. So how requirement collections were done? To collect the requirements, it is necessary to communicate with the end users. End users are those people for whom software will be developed. Programmers, designers will be communicating with those end users to know their requirements, the problems that have to be solved with the software, then what are the risks that may be associated with the solution. That should be clearly communicated with the end users. On the basis of the end users' requirement, designers, system programmers will develop system designs. System design will be showing different diagram, consist of objects, relationship with the objects. System development is concerned with coding, writing programs in different programming language. After writing program, different modules will be developed. Those modules have to be tested. The modules works properly or not. The modules will generate output according to the given input or not. That have to be checked. Software have to be checked whether that works in every platform or not, in every operating system or not. After successful testing, the software will be implemented in the real world. The end users will be using the software. Then after implementation, software needs upgrade with the time. Software needs maintenance. So support for the client after the implementation should be provided. Okay, these are the basic phases. And in the project, it is not necessary that one single person should be involved in all of these phases. Single person may be involved in requirement collection, system design, or in the testing phase. So that person who has involved in all of these steps or in particular steps should mention what are the tasks they did during that phase. In the testing, what he or she did, how test was performed, that should be clearly mentioned in this chapter. If the person has done all of these steps, then all of these steps have to be clearly written within the report. Another example, in case of management, projects may be to do financial analysis of organization or do marketing of services, products of organization, analyzing and understanding business process of organization, analyzing effectiveness of marketing campaign or advertisements, study of impact of facilities provided to student, employees, etc., and many more. There can be many more different subjects, topics on which the people can do project. For example, suppose one single individual wanted to do project to understand the marketing effectiveness. So for that, that person may have to develop the questionnaires, have to do the research in the market, how those products are sold after the marketing campaign. And when doing the research, that person will be collecting different informations about customers. So after collecting that information about the customers, there will be a serious issue. That is, if those customers' record are not kept sacred, what will happen? That is the risk associated with it. So the person who does that kind of research or project work should understand when they collect the data there may arise of the risks. When different kind of projects are done, they should understand what are the risks that may be associated. What will the consequences of each and every tasks that are performed in the project? This should be known. So, in the case of the management, it should be clearly understood what is that project about, how those projects are to be conducted. If there are some risks, that should be clearly mentioned. That is similar with this software engineering also. If system is not properly tested, what will happen? If requirements are not clearly understood, what kind of risks may arise? This kind of things should be clearly understood and mentioned how those risks been mitigated in the project report. Now the last chapter, that is the conclusion. In this chapter, write about your experience of doing experience, things you learned during project time, how the project helped you to, if you got some kind of knowledge about the project. Also mention if you face some kind of difficulties during the project, how those difficulties been eliminated. How was the project environment? Whether you like to work in similar kind of project in future or not. These are the basic things you should focus in the conclusion chapter. Okay, that's all about project writing. Thank you very much. I expect this video is of some little help for you.